If I knew that I could not fail, if I believed.
Hello, and welcome to Wake Up with Wendy, Discover the Magic of You. My name is Wendy Kaplan, host and guide into helping you discover your next bold move, personally or professionally. Each month, we talk about how many people reach a time in their lives when they start to ask themselves the question, is this all there is? Is this it? This time of inner restlessness or quiet dissatisfaction happens to all of us sometime in our lives. And many of us go through this time of re-examination multiple times. And it's a good thing because it gives us a chance to reevaluate what we're doing. Some of us are reevaluating our work, our jobs, maybe even the career we've chosen. Some people are wondering if they're in the right relationship, or some are looking for a special person to have a relationship with because they don't have one at the moment. Ask yourself, are you someone who's looking for something more? Are you wishing you could do something more with your life that would make a bigger difference in the world and leave the kind of legacy that you're proud of behind? Many of us are realizing there must be something more. And I hope that by watching our show today, it will inspire you to help you figure out a next step for you, or to give you a different kind of insight into your gifts and talents and how you might use them to inspire you into action. With us today is my friend Deborah Stark. Deborah is the owner of Deborah's Natural Gourmet, a natural food store which opened in 1989 in West Concord, Massachusetts. Deborah's store has been featured and recognized on national television shows like 2020, rating it as one of the top 100 natural food stores in the country, as well as Inc. magazine, Investor's Business Daily, Cooking Light magazine, and most recently, Yankee magazine, where it was awarded the Best of New England Reader's Choice for 2010. And Deborah just completed her third cookbook, which can be found in her store or on Amazon. And as you listen to Deborah and I talk, notice what gets sparked in you around some life change that you might be ready to make. So welcome, Deborah.
Welcome, Wendy.
Thanks for being here today.
Oh, I'm delighted.
I'm really glad you could be here. So why don't we start by you just telling us a little bit about yourself? My favorite question.
That's always the hardest question. I was brought up on natural food and natural medicine. My whole family converted before I was born. And so I've never known anything but, and it's always been my passion. I've always thought if I could just get the whole country or the whole world eating the way I love to eat, that we would bring back dinner parties, we'd have a lot of fun with food, we wouldn't be afraid of food in this country, and we'd be a lot healthier.
That is so great. Well, you know, I love your perspective on food and health, and I know today as people listen to you talk and watch you cook, because we're going to do some cooking together in a little bit, they'll be inspired to do something healthy in their lives.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. So how did you, tell a little bit about your mother and what it was like growing up in the household that around healthy food.
It was crazy, and I hated it. Growing up as a child, I hated it. I remember I would walk home through the woods and I would throw her homemade sandwiches into the woods and hope she would never find them. And of course she did one day and brought them home, and they were moldy, and she made me eat some of it. Oh, I never disposed of it again. But as a child, you don't want to be different, and I really was different in those days. Nowadays, I think there's a wider range of acceptability with all kinds of food. But my mother was a health nut. She used to order bags of organic grain shipped across the country from California.
That's amazing.
And ground them and made her own flours. She juiced for us every day when we came home from school. But she also had a really deft hand with meats and chicken, so I'm not a vegetarian by any means.
Mm. You are, I think you are so lucky to have this background. I know because we talked, it was a burden. It was both a blessing and a burden.
That's true.
Right? Both all at the same time. Because if you didn't have that background, you may not be where you are today.
That's very true.
And having your own store and helping people through your cookbooks and your writing and so forth really makes a difference. So in my life, we had, peanut butter and marshmallow
fluff.
Fluff, of course. Sandwiches and ringdings for dessert. So I've always had a hard time around eating healthy because I have craving for the crap.
I think I have craving for the crap too. And the other night I went home and I was tired and I didn't want to make food for myself and I had 2 pints of ice cream. So we're in the same boat,
You
honey.
told me that. I was thinking.
And I could have polished it off with a bag of potato chips.
I thought if you're eating ice cream, then it's all well with me.
Yeah.
It's all good. So what would you like to say to sort of start us off? Maybe some tips around healthful eating that will lead us to what we're going to do in regard to
All right.
cooking?
Well, I think that in order for us to feel healthy and happy and sexy and sassy and all those things that women and men want to be too, you have to feel good. And it's like computers, garbage in, garbage out. If we eat badly, if we eat all the hydrogenated oils, and if we concentrate on white sugar and white flour, then we just don't feel well and we don't run well.
Yes.
And so, what I want to say to people is you can make good food fast. You don't have to eat fast food from McDonald's or from any Wendy. You can make a wonderful home-cooked meal with vibrant colors and different aromas and taste in 10 or 15 minutes, which is, I think, shorter than it takes to defrost a frozen food dinner.
That's probably
to cook.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to say to people it can be simple, and it shouldn't be complicated.
Which I think for some of us who think, God, I wish I could eat a little healthier.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. I have, I don't even know where I'd go to get the ingredients. So all of that, what you're saying is, well, first of all, of course, come to your store.
Or
For all of their, we should
Yeah.
give your store a plug. Let's give the URL since we're talking about it.
Oh, it's simple. It's www.deborahsnaturalgourmet.com, and Deborah's the short way.
Yes.
D-E-B-R-A. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And it's in West Concord, so for those who are, I know people come from all over.
They do.
To drive to your store because
Yes.
it's such a unique place.
Yeah. Thank you, dear.
Oh, my pleasure. I want more people to come because it's to be able to support a local business that mission is to help people be healthy and care for themselves. There's nothing better than that.
Well, our motto is eat well and be happy.
There you go. And I think it's on your,
This is on my
your
jacket.
blouse as well.
Yes.
It's great.
But I want to say to people, don't obsess and don't try and change everything overnight. Start with one simple step. Start by getting up and having, a fresh apple instead of a glass of apple juice. So you're getting the fiber and you're getting everything with the apple instead of just the sugar.
That's good. Well, there's so much to learn that I know we'll talk about the things that we're making as we're
Right.
cooking them. So we'll learn a lot about that as well. Okay, so I think this is a perfect time for us to get behind the table and
All right.
do a little cooking together.
We'll chop some kale.
There you go. Well, here we are back in our makeshift kitchen,
Makeshift.
and we're going to do a little cooking.
Yeah, we are. I thought we would make a raw kale salad today. I don't know about you, but I never ate kale when I was growing up. My mother never served it, never made it.
Did they actually have kale?
Of course they did.
I don't think I heard about kale until I got to be older.
Yeah, but it piqued my interest because kale was selected as the #1 vegetable in terms of overall nutrient content by Center for Science and the Public Interest.
No
So I
kidding.
figured there must be something to this stuff, and then you look at it, it's tough, you can squeeze it, it bounces back, it's almost indestructible, and I never really know what to do with it. I started using kale in soups. I would just chop it up and throw a handful in, or
Yeah.
pasta sauces. But one day we decided to try and see what we could do with kale raw. And we kept experimenting until one day we came up with a combination that we're going to do today.
Great.
But the rule of thumb, we both know that kale gets stuck between the teeth, and then you have a very lovely green smile.
Well, we know that because we were munching while we were waiting to go on camera, and there was kale everywhere. So.
But the rule of thumb, first of all, you want to wash it, and I just leave the band around and I do this under the water, and then I shake it once or twice, and that's the way I wash kale.
Yeah.
But when I cut it, I just want to cut it until it's bite-sized pieces. Again, I always say to myself, could I fit that piece into my mouth if I were sitting across from my boss or a man on a first date? And if I can, then I know it's the right size.
That's good.
So I'm just putting some pieces together, and I'm just going to cut it. And you'll forgive me because the table is much too low and the board is much too small. And ordinarily I chop very fast and I don't raise the blade, but I'm being careful today.
All right, well, we won't criticize your,
All right.
your blade cutting.
And most people don't use the stems.
And you do.
I am, because I figure you want that little extra crunch.
Yeah.
And when I cook, I love to use my hands because I think they're the best tool possible. I think that, you know, if I had to wear white gloves and cook today, I would die.
Who would wear white gloves and cook?
Oh, you have to wear plastic gloves now.
Oh, plastic gloves.
Yeah.
Oh, how hard it is to do plastic gloves.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, since we're talking about
Yeah.
cutting kale into bite-sized pieces, so those of us who are married, we won't care if it's bite-sized, right?
You'll still care. You'll still care. So in this recipe, it's very simple. It's a few ingredients. It's kale, basically red onion, avocados. We'll talk about that, some grated carrots, and lots of lemon juice and a pumpkin seed oil. And go ahead.
This, well, I was going to give your cookbook a plug. Can
All
I
right.
give a cookbook a plug?
Sure.
So this is Deb's new cookbook. It's called Blue Ribbon Edition, From Our Kitchen to Yours. And each Well Be Happy is Deborah's natural gourmet and Deborah's personal mantra and mission and goal statement. And this recipe is in, everything's going everywhere,
Table
right?
shaking.
Oh,
Yeah.
This recipe is in this book, right?
It is. I actually have the page marked with that pink sticky.
Oh, wait, we can tell people what page it is.
Yeah.
Hold on.
But, you know, another reason for eating kale,
87, page 87.
kale's nickname is king of calcium, and they say there's more calcium in kale than any other vegetable, although I think bok choy is really high in calcium. Brussels sprouts are really high in calcium. But the calcium that is in kale, in this dark leafy green, is actually much more absorbable than calcium from milk or cheese. And we both love cheese.
We do.
But cheese goes right to the hips, and the calcium doesn't go quite so much into the bones as it does.
Into the lips and onto the hips, right?
Right.
And plus, some people have their stomach doesn't tolerate dairy so well.
That's
So
true.
sometimes cheese or milk or yogurt products are a little tougher, but kale, I of course couldn't speak for everybody, but doesn't seem to have that same reaction for people.
It doesn't. And I also think of kale as an internal scrub brush. So if somebody has problems, and this is a very indelicate subject, but if someone has problems with constipation, kale just really gets things going
No
right away.
kidding. That's good to know.
And it's very easy to grow in your garden. You notice I have a bowl here, and I'm putting my my little bits and pieces that I don't want to put in the salad until there. And when I get home, even though there's snow on this ground in New England, it's going to go out into my garden as fertilizer.
No kidding.
So
That's good.
And the nice thing about kale in New England is you can also harvest it from under the snow, and it just gets sweeter when it gets hit by frost. So I'm probably not cutting these pieces up quite as small as I should, but I'm getting.
It will all be good enough.
I think
for
we'll
today.
leave that. I'm
Okay,
just
good.
all of a sudden I'm lazy. I don't
Well,
wanna
we
do-
have a lot of kale.
I don't
We're
want to
gonna be
do
feeding
any more
everybody.
kale. Okay. So kale, number one, the Center for Science and the Public Interest in terms of overall nutrient content. It's a little tough, and I think that the only reason we can get people to eat raw kale is because we make enough of a dressing. So maybe what we'll do is we'll put the lemon on first, and we'll put the oil on first, and it'll get a chance to soften a little bit.
Great.
And Wendy and I both love Meyer lemons.
Meyer lemons, the best lemons.
They are. They have a
So-
short season too.
They do.
But they are very fragrant. They have an extremely thin skin and lots of juice.
I love these. These are so juicy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I were home, what I would do is I would be saving the skin to put in my freezer. So if I bake, then I have that as well, you know, to flavor the
Really?
Yeah.
That never occurred to me.
lemon zest. What do you think lemon zest is?
Something I get in a bottle. No more. You know what I've done with, I've done this with oranges, but you could do it with lemons. So you take all the inside out, and then when I have
Fill
guests
'em.
for dinner, I put in sorbet
Very
or
nice.
gelato, and so it has a nice little look to it.
Now, if I were home,
Oh,
I'd
so
probably be worrying about the little pits, but since it's only us chickens, I'm not going to worry about
There
the
you go.
pits. Although I'll try and take a couple of them out.
So when you grate your lemons to make lemon zest,
Yes.
do you do them frozen?
Sometimes I do it fresh, sometimes I do it frozen. But one thing about lemons, I think we Americans lead a very acidic life. and we get ourselves into trouble because our pH balance is off. But the interesting thing about lemons and limes and raw apple cider vinegar is that it balances that pH. So if you're too acidic and you have some fresh lemon juice and water, it actually makes you less acidic. So, and that's, you know, the old-fashioned remedy when you get up in the morning, you have that lemon and water or the raw apple cider vinegar and water. That's all part of that wonderful, healthful process.
Well, every morning since, I don't know, you and I had some conversation about raw apple cider vinegar.
Yes.
I got some at the store, and every morning I have a glass of cold water with, I don't know, a splash or two of raw apple cider vinegar. And in the beginning I thought, ugh, you know, this is hard to drink vinegar, but
you get used to it.
I love it now.
Yeah, it really gets to, it's hard to start the day without it.
It is.
And Cleopatra used to do that, only she also used to mix a spoonful of honey in.
No kidding.
Yes, she did.
How do you like that? How do you know these things?
Well, interesting facts like that, how can you forget? And I'm probably putting way too much lemon in, but
it'll be delicious. Now, I heard you say a few minutes ago something about softening
the
kale. It actually softens it?
It does, because of the acid. And if you want to actually, if you don't want the taste of a really sharp onion in salad, if you put that in lemon juice ahead of time, it'll soften it too.
Huh.
So I'm
going to stop on the lemon.
I'm going to stop on the lemon, and I'm going to add some pumpkin seed oil. And pumpkin seed oil is an oil that you can't use, you can't cook with it because it's destroyed by high heat. So the oil is damaged by high heat, and then it becomes, it hurts our cells, it oxidizes them. So it's I don't know if you can see here, if I put some in a cover, if you can see it.
It's very dark.
It's very dark. Can you see that?
Yeah, well, I can see it. I don't know if anybody else can see it.
Well, if you can see, you can watch it going onto the salad.
Yeah,
you can see
good.
It looks really brown.
I can see that, yeah. I love the taste of it. It's really interesting.
It has a wonderful aroma, and it comes only from one particular kind of a pumpkin seed plant, or pumpkin plant, that grows in Austria. And it's very different because the pumpkin seeds are the only ones in the world that don't have a hull.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so but it imparts this wonderful nutty flavor. And when we started trying to find a dressing for kale salad, and we stopped. Once we tried it with the pumpkin seed oil, we stopped. That was sufficient.
That was it, yeah.
Now, I would really love to mush this with my hands.
Well,
Will you mind if I do?
Not at all.
Okay, I promise. Untouched by human hands.
I saw you wash
But
your hands.
they were washed, yeah. It's just so much easier to use your hands as a tool.
Plus, you could afterwards, rub it into your hands. It would probably be a good hand moisturizer.
Yeah. And pumpkin seeds and pumpkin seed oil are especially important for men because they help the prostate, right? It's also, they're really rich in zinc, and zinc is good for the immune system as well as the prostate. So if somebody's coming down with a cold and they have some pumpkin seeds every day, that's very helpful too.
No kidding. That's great. All right, so what are we adding next?
I think we'll do the avocado. And avocado...
I love avocado.
So do I. I eat a whole one every day.
You told me that. I've been trying. It's not as easy to have them stored in my house and make sure they're all ripe at the right time.
Well, avocados are very high in fat, as we all know, and in this country we're afraid of fat. I know that about, 10 years ago, we went the fat-free route, and we got ourselves even fatter and fatter.
That's true.
Because if you eat simple carbs, a lot of white sugar, a lot of white flour, then that converts to fat in the body. So it's a very interesting phenomenon. This pit doesn't want to let go.
There it goes.
All right, let's see. Let's try this little tool. So avocados, I don't think that many people know that avocados are actually pretty high in protein, and they're also really high in calcium, and they certainly have the good fats.
That's great. I love the taste of avocados, especially with lemon mixed with this
guacamole.
kale. Yeah, I've had this salad quite a few times since getting your cookbook, and even before the cookbook. Deborah's got a great newsletter that if you go into her store, you can pick up the newsletter in person, but it's also online on her website, www.deborahsnaturalgourmet.com. And every month there's new recipes. And you also have back recipes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been making this for quite some time.
Yes. Well, what I love about avocados is that they oil our joints. So particularly in New England, we get very dry. We get that dry leg on the skins. We get joints that ache. And avocados with their good fat are very helpful for keeping joints lubricated. They're very good for keeping our hair shiny and our skin supple and soft. And I know if I eat that avocado every day and I have other good fats, then I don't get that dry, itchy skin on my legs in the wintertime.
So what you're doing is just cutting it into bite-sized pieces and adding it to the salad, right?
And as you can see, no technique, none whatsoever.
No, your technique in getting the avocado going is pretty good. Mine doesn't work quite as easily.
And if we weren't talking, if someone's just doing this at home, we just hack the kale into bite-sized pieces. We're just cutting the avocados. We added the lemon and the oil.
Yep. And there's no sort of amount. I just saw you sort of did by eye.
Well, if you read the cookbook, there's an amount. I think it calls for about a quarter of a cup of lemon juice and something of oil. But
there you go.
Who's counting?
I can't wait to eat it. We haven't had lunch yet, so this is going to be perfect.
And the nice thing about cooking is that everybody makes a recipe their own. Everybody changes it.
Right.
You hate red onions, you put something else in there.
Right.
You have leftover asparagus, you put it in there.
You add it in.
But while we're cutting the onion, what I want to say, when we go back to that list from the Center of Science and the Public Interest, the food that is number 2 on their list in terms of overall nutrient content are yams, baked yams. And my mother used to say that every woman should have a baked yam or baked sweet potato every day. And so she used to put a tray in on Sunday while she was reading the Sunday paper and just bake a whole bunch of them. Just scrub them and, this onion doesn't want to peel.
And so why women?
Because it balances the hormones. I mean, not that they're not good for men too. They certainly are really rich in fiber and beta-carotene and all those wonderful things that we need. I think they're fairly high in magnesium as well. And why magnesium? Because our calcium won't work without magnesium, number 1. And I take extra magnesium as a supplement. I'm destroying this onion.
It's all right, nobody will notice.
Because magnesium relaxes the muscles, so it helps you sleep better. And I get massages to relax the shoulders, and I always think of magnesium as doing sort of the same thing.
And so how much do you take, can I ask, how much do you take a day?
I do an extra 400, and I do it in magnesium that is easily absorbed and assimilated. Okay. So for instance, in that I'll do a magnesium glycinate or magnesium aspartate, and not the oxide.
Okay, I heard you say that recently.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about what we're doing, because we have about 5 minutes left. So I know, time flies.
It does.
So we're going to add onions, and I'm just going to talk about what else we're going to add as even before we do it. So I see that you have some sea salt.
Yes, and a special salt.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah. We worry about hypertension, we worry about high blood pressure with salt in this country, and I think a lot of that is because we've gone to salts that are highly processed and don't have all the minerals left in them. They're just calcium chloride or whatever the chemical for salt is. Whereas the natural salts that came right out of the sea or from salt caves in the Himalayas or Tibet or Nepal really are rich in all kinds of minerals and actually do not cause that high blood pressure and don't cause all the problems that we associate with salt today. So we're using a Celtic sea salt, which comes off the coast of, where's Celt? France? Or France,
no,
I think.
Ireland?
Oh, read the label. Tell me where the hell
we should have this
who
down,
the Celts are. I should know that.
We should. I don't know. France, you're right.
Oh, thank God. I was right about something.
You were right about everything. All
so
right.
it actually even tastes a little different. It's not quite it doesn't have that dead salt taste. It has a more complex flavor. And let's see if I can open this.
There you go. And I also noticed that you had carrots here.
Right. And I don't know that we're going to have the time to grate those carrots in. And I'm not measuring, I'm just sort of eyeballing it. But you notice that I've just scrubbed the carrots.
Oh, right.
And
No peeling.
No peeling. Do not peel your carrots.
Do not peel your
Don't
carrots.
peel your carrots, your potatoes, your beets, any of that stuff. And if we were to grate this in now, nobody would say, oh, look, there's the peel. You just don't see it.
Right.
But why don't we want to peel it? You know that.
I do. All the minerals are in the skin.
And the vitamins, too.
And the vitamins.
Yeah, and besides which, who has time for peeling?
I went to visit my mother recently, and so I made something with carrots, and all I did was scrub them. And she said to me, aren't you going to peel them? I said, no, I don't peel carrots anymore. She said, well, I wouldn't eat them if they're not peeled. I said, well, Deborah says that they
Oh,
have more
Lord.
nutrients and minerals and vitamins if you don't peel. So I'm going to wash them really well, and you're going to love them just like this.
Did she eat them?
She did.
Good.
She did.
All right, here go my hands again. I'm sorry, guys.
That's all right.
I'm wishing it. I want to feel one thing about kale, because it's so curly, it's hard to get the dressing in all those little cracks and crevices.
I can't wait to eat it. Oh, my goodness.
But if I were
Smells
serving
delicious.
this for dinner, you know, I might do some broiled chicken next to it, nice and crispy, and I might do a baked yam. And just think, then we didn't talk about
Colors,
color.
right.
Then you have the green, you have the orange,
Right.
you have the brown, and it just, things are beautiful when you have all the different colors.
That's awesome.
And we do want to eat colors, because if we eat all the colors and we
You're
eat
getting
different...
the right balance.
That's
of foods,
right.
Did we finish talking about, or did you have any more things to say about yams? I got distracted by the sea salt.
Oh, I don't know.
Was there anything else? So eat a yam a day,
Eat a yam a day.
because it's good for your hormones.
Right.
And magnesium.
Yes.
Maybe we finished on that topic.
Well,
All right.
all right, so we didn't put the carrot in. My hands are nice and oily right now, and I probably have avocados under my nails. But we have something in there that's really mineral rich, really fat rich. Everybody knows that onions and garlics keep the vampires away and have been used for thousands and thousands of years because they really do protect us from colds and flus.
So in the minute we have left, can we you believe we only have a minute left?
No.
I know, it's gone so fast. People would make this particular recipe, aside from loving it and it tastes delicious, it for what other reasons?
For bones, for skin, for heart, for all of those things. Magnesium is also good for the heart muscles. So for all those things.
For all those good reasons.
But what Wendy and I want everyone to do is to invite your best friends over for dinner, to invite your family over
That's
for
right.
dinner, invite your neighbors over, and share food.
And share food.
And eat well and be happy.
Exactly. Well, I am so grateful for you being here today, Deb, and for sharing your vast knowledge. I love coming into the store because every time I come in, I learn something from somebody who works there. So for me, it's not just a place where I shop.
It's a community.
It is. It's like and a place for learning and education. So I've learned
Well,
a
thank
lot,
you.
and I hope our viewers have learned a lot today as well from listening to us talk and Deborah's just huge array of knowledge in her background. So thank you again.
Thank you, honey.
What would I do if I
Well, you got
knew
to see Deborah's
I could
passion in
not
action, and
fail?
I'm hoping that you learned as much as I did from listening to and watching her cook. And I also hope that it gave you some insight into how you might incorporate some of your talents into your life. You may not do cooking, you may not be an expert in health and nutrition, but there is something that you have a passion about that might have gotten stirred up in you as you were listening to Deborah. So ask yourself, if you could make one change in your life after listening to the episode of this show, what would it be? Another way of asking this is to really rev it up for yourself a bit more. What would you do if you were not afraid? And if you like what you've heard today and you want to know more about what's next for you, we have some resources for you. First, you can go online for some free support and inspiration. And if you're a woman listening in our audience today and you're not too far from Andover, Massachusetts, you can join us for Girls' Night Out gatherings, Conversations for Women That Matter, on the first Monday of each month from 7 to 9 p.m. It's a free evening with other women who are at a crossroads in their lives and trying to figure out what to do about it. And our website to find out both of those things is www.themagicparties.com, where you will find everything you need. A big thank you to my guest, Deborah Stark. Thank you.
Thank you too, Wendy.
And thanks to Pete and Brian and Kev, our intern, who's doing a fabulous job, who make all of our shows possible. And thanks to you, our listeners. You are meant to go forth in the world to use your gifts and talents and have a little fun exploring what's next inside of you, waiting to burst forth. And join us next time as we continue to help you discover the magic of you.
What would I do if I knew that I could not fail? If I believed, would the wind always fill up my sail? How far would I go? What could I achieve? Trusting the hero in me. If I were brave, I'd walk